President Kennedy.
Well,
That's why they don't want to go.
It's more than respecting President Kennedy or Senator Kennedy or whomever. It's about respecting the foundations of this very country. This is a land of immigrants. So, I mean, I think it's incredibly disappointing that we have politicians with such an anti-immigrant stance.
I don't know if it's anti-immigrant, but at this time, when 13 million families are looking out for themselves, another 50,000, I don't know if it won't hurt, but I really doesn't think it helps.
Well, I very much believe that's an anti-immigrant, xenophobic policy. I certainly don't think it's going to go anywhere because the Senate won't allow something like that to move forward, but very disappointing. Well, during these tough economic times, we've been watching the price of gold steadily go up. Gold is likely to hit $1,650 by the end of this year, maybe even as high as $1,700 by the end of this year. That much money for 1 ounce of gold is quite a lot. Now, people are kind of surprised that it's going up quite this much, even during the summer months, which, believe it or not, because India is the biggest consumer of gold, during the monsoon season, because of the rains, there are fewer weddings, fewer special occasions where people are buying gold. We usually see a lull in the worldwide gold market just because of India's weather and festival season. But still, the price remains high, and a lot of people are putting their faith in gold and even silver instead of in other kinds of investments.
You know, there's just finite gold in the world. And, of course, India has the most gold. Did you see that when they opened that temple, the amount of gold that they found up there?
It's hard to believe.
I mean, India has the most gold. If the gold went to $5,000, some are predicting by 2020, it'll go to $5,000 an ounce. Now, imagine which one will be a wealthy country. But much more than that, you know, folks, the wives come to you and they say, we want to buy gold because, you know, it is the security of the family. Mm-hmm. That's been going around for years and years and years. And men always looked at it and said, why do you want gold? You know, buy something that lasts. What do you want to buy gold for? But today, they have been proven right. So there are a lot of women walking around telling their husband, didn't I tell you that? I have the gold now. I have the money. So, interesting phenomena with the gold.
It's true. You have to eat your words about the gold because those women were right. And for years, that was really the only security that many South Asian women had was their jewelry. That belonged to them and that was their financial security in case something terrible were to happen. And now that security is proving true.
That's very true, and they can certainly pass it on to their kids for which they actually bought, you know. Here in the United States, we talk about the government employees getting a lot of freebies. We talk about these congressmen, senators getting a lot of freebies. It is really popular all over the world. Seriously. And now they're realizing it and they're really cutting it down. So I'll give you some of the interesting perks that are being cut down. For instance, Greece, which everybody thinks is going to declare bankruptcy, used to give 2 months of vacation with pay, like a bonus to their employees.
Wow.
Well, they're going to do away with it. Portugal, at Christmas time, workers get an extra month's pay. Now they wouldn't be getting it. Netherlands, artists and musicians and actors are bracing for a 22% drop in state arts subsidies.
Oh, that's sad.
22% for the art, that's gone. In Spain, a taxpayer-financed $3,600 bonus to new mothers for each child that was born to them. Sorry, that'll be discontinued too.
Wow.
In Italy, the public servants have 84,000 vehicles costing $3.6 billion annually. These officials use it. Well, now it's not going to be there anymore. Only the top officials will drive it. Ireland. Civil servants are no longer getting bank time. You know, in the olden days, it used to be that if you go to bank, because you have to stand in line, so it takes 30 minutes. So you get a 30-minute break from your job. Well, those times are gone. Ireland finally caught up with it. No more 30-minute break. around the world, that is what has been happening. I certainly like to see that the Congress should not be given their pension, serving just one term. 1 term, 2 terms, they get a full pension for which they only contribute 1%.
But, you know, the cuts that you just talked about in various countries are different kinds of cuts. I mean, I understand the cuts that elected officials, that politicians need to take. But it's really sad to me to hear about cutting subsidies for the arts, because that's something that really benefits the public, and if the government doesn't support it or significantly reduces their support for the arts, it could pretty much destroy the careers of many artists, musicians, dancers, whatever kind of art they may be involved in. So, you know, there's got to be some balance, Ramesh, right? Like, some of these were extreme. We all acknowledge 2 months vacation. Wow. But, you know, we've got our 2 weeks here, and that's too little. Isn't there something in between? It seems like, you know, we're either on one extreme or the other.
No,
and neither is helpful.
Up here, you only work 40 hours, and some of the people, they work Monday through Thursday, 10 hours a day, and they have a 3-day weekend, which is not bad.
No, but the reality is that Americans work a lot. I mean, whenever I'm traveling around the world, you know, I'll run into someone. I was in Greece, and, you know, there was a family there from Australia and another one from Sweden. And, you know, I said, well, how long are you here, you know, for your holiday? They said, oh, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And they're like, and how about you? And I said, oh, about 10 days. They said, you're American, aren't you?
You're known by the amount of vacation you take, huh?
I don't know about you, but often when I have a question, and even if I'm sitting at the dinner table or we're driving somewhere, before I even try and think about the answer to that question, I take out my phone and start looking up the answer, right? We often are using the internet nowadays to get that instant answer. Oh, what was that actor's name? And then the next thing you know, you've Googled it. Well, there's some researchers that are studying how internet use actually affects our memory. Because the thing is that if you can refer to something so easily, are you as likely to try and remember it? So they did this study, and what they found was that subjects were significantly more likely to remember information if they thought they would not be able to find it later, right? If you thought, well, I better study because this is my only chance to learn the information and remember it, great. But if you thought, I can look it up later, no big deal, you're actually less likely to remember it at all. This is referring to what we call transactive memory. The idea that we rely on our family, our friends, our co-workers as reference material, right? So they store information for us that we don't need to remember. The author of this article was talking about, well, you know, my husband really knows more about baseball than I do, so there are all kinds of facts and figures about baseball that I don't bother remembering.